stick are you looking to accomplish that in left leg?
Yeah, first, I just want to say that, my thoughts and prayers are with the families that were affected in the situation this past weekend out here. So just want to say that. But, my expectations, I'm excited. I'm excited to, I've been in the gym with the guys, got to know a bunch of them, so I'm excited to just get out there, get back on the court, play some 5-on-5.
Any particular goals that you have?
I wouldn't, say specific goals, but I just want to go out, show I've improved, show I've gotten better, and, have a couple of games.
What's that process like for you when you're good with a group of guys that you've never played with and you're all trying to build some chemistry?
Yeah, it's tough. It's always tough, getting in a new setting, a new team. All these guys are going through this whole process. Some guys have done it for a couple of years, some guys it's the first time, like me. So, it's hard. It's never easy, but, I think we got a good group of guys and, a lot of good players, so it should make it a little easier.
Cooper, from your opening press conference the other day, Jason Kidd sitting next to you, and he's emphasizing he wants you to handle the rock a lot and play some point guard. How does that make you feel, and is that something you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think, Coach Shire trusted me a lot last year, and I handled it a lot. I didn't bring it up with some, but, in the half court I handled it a lot and, set up a lot of different actions. So I think it's something I can do at a high level, so I'm excited to just, experiment and do some new things.
You and Ryan are, a few of the many Nembhard guys on the Mavericks now. I don't think you guys overlapped or anything, but do you have any familiarity? Did you know him before this or anything?
I didn't know him, no. He was gone before I got there, but that's something that we've been able to talk about and connect on. And, Ryan's a great player, incredible passer. He really scored as well. I don't know if people realize that, so I'm excited to, get on the court with him.
Now that you've had some time to actually experience Dallas, what are your initial impressions of the city?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm excited, it's an incredible place to live, to be. So I'm excited to, continue to explore Dallas and so then.
Back to your intro presser, you said that you're excited to try new things in the Summer League. When Jason Kidd was talking about you, he looks at failure as an opportunity to learn. So just with the pressure of, being drafted #1 overall, how much is it that you have support from your head coach that you can try new things and there's some space there?
Yeah, I think it gives me a lot of confidence, obviously, having that kind of message and confidence from him, just knowing that you're going to trust me to, try some new things. And, we've talked about him just telling me that, you're going to go through some failure, but he's not worried about, mistakes or little things like that. So just, pushing through, exploring new things, trying to get on my shell and do different things on the court. I'm excited to just kind of try that out.
What stood out the most from this first Summer League practice?
You said what?
What stood out the most?
What stood out the most? I think just a great group of guys, to have as teammates for Summer League. I think a lot of teams can get caught up in just worrying about themselves and, playing ISO, different stuff. But I think we got a good group of guys that, really just want to play the right way and showcase a good, brand of basketball.
Was this just another one of the thousands of practices you've had, or was there a different feel to it being in your first sort of NBA practice?
There's a little bit of a different feeling, it's similar when I got to Duke and had my first practice there. It's just new environment, new feeling, being around new people, making those new connections. So it's definitely a little bit of a different feeling, but at the end of the day, it is basketball, so it is, another practice.
Through your whole draft process and this whole thing coming to Dallas, was there anybody that reached out or sent love or support to you that you were surprised by or kind of like shocked by?
Not really directly, but I felt a lot of support from a lot of different people, so I'm just grateful for all of it. Very good.
Let's go first.
What are the expectations heading into Summer League and everything?
I think just getting the guys in and kind of evaluating them. We tried to play a lot, especially in practice, let them all play different positions and, as we talked about before, put them in kind of uncomfortable positions and just see how they play together. One of the main points of emphasis for all these guys is just be themselves. That's how they got here. That's how they are going to make it in the league. So be themselves and see what they do, and then we can adjust and coach from there.
What in particular are you looking from Cooper?
From Cooper, I think the biggest thing with him is just he can do so many different things, whether it's on the ball, off the ball, guarding the basketball, being a playmaker. So I think with him, it's just starting simple and letting him kind of play his brand of basketball, which fits a lot of different areas. And then, putting him in those uncomfortable spots, having him handle the ball. We've had him guard the ball in practice, we've had him guard the bigs, putting him in different positions where we can see what he can do and then go from there.
What's it like for you to have a guy like that with so much talent?
Oh man, he's I think the number one thing you hear about him, and it's as advertised, is just the person he is first and foremost. He's one of the first guys in the gym. You know, we've had to make him sit down on the 4th of July just because he wanted to be in here working already. So I think that's something you see with him first, and then the talent obviously is incredible to see him out here, whether it's in his individual workouts or with the team. He's been incredible, so it's obviously great to be a part of.
What have the conversations been between you and the coaching staff or Nico about the development of Cooper Flagg during this time, or any other players?
You know, they've been very basic so far. I mean, it's just with him trying to see, well, like you said, you know, Jason talked the other day about giving him the ball and see what he can do, especially in this setting. And then we'll probably go from there, you know, as the season goes on and we start getting closer to training camp. But as of right now, it's just been more let him play. And like I said, he can pretty much do everything at this level right now. So put him in those different positions and see how he reacts, and then kind of go from there.
What were you watching the lottery? You know, what were you thinking when the Mavs leaped up to number 1?
I think the same as everybody else. You're very happy. So it was great. It was obviously when you see that you're supposed to go, I think it was 11, and then all of a sudden you jump up, everybody starts getting excited, and then a little bit later you find out you get number 1. And with a kid like Cooper, it couldn't be better for everybody here.
How many games do you expect him to play?
You know, talking to those guys, I think we'll take it day by day. Once we get out to Vegas, kind of figure out the schedule and see how he does, starting with the Lakers, and then kind of go from there.
Cooper described the style of play and the identity of the Mavs as kind of like positionless basketball. It's easier said than done. What's, you know, a formula that you can kind of calculate and put together over Summer League to make that successful?
I think the one thing is a lot of the guys they've brought in have really complemented that style of play. You know, we have multiple guys. A guy like Ryan Nembhard, he can play on and off the basketball. He doesn't have to just be a point guard to impact the game. You got other guys who are able to have the ball in their hands, you know, make a play one-on-one and then pass once that ball gets into the paint. So I think that's something that's good. And then on the other side, you know, defense is obviously going to be one of our calling cards in Summer League and the season. And that's something where, you know, once we rebound that basketball, we want all 5 guys to be able to bring that ball up the court and make plays. So that's something starting in Summer League, you know, get that on film, see how it looks, and then we can adjust and see what we have from there.
Nembhard was, you know, dang near 10 assists per game last year at Gonzaga. You know, what do you just think about the decision making and his ability to run a team when he wanted to do that?
Honestly, he's been incredible. I had to tell him today, you got to look to score too. You know, that's something that for him, he can set up everybody on the court, but the more he can, you know, make himself a threat first is going to allow him to make all those plays. Even when we get out here, last week we played 5-on-5 with some of the vets. He was making all the right plays, all the right reads that guys now are playing him to pass. So I think his IQ and what he can do, especially with a guy like Cooper who's so talented, they're already playing really well off each other on, you know, that 2-man game. So just kind of encouraging him to be not only a passer and a facilitator, but someone who can score the basketball and get to his spots. So
Not as big, but does he have anything in common with Andrew?
say that again.
Not as big, but does he have anything in common with Andrew?
You know, I don't know Andrew, but I can tell you one thing: they're both tough. So you know, you watch the finals and you see Andrew, you know, guarding Shea and putting his chest on him and fighting through screens. I would say that runs in the family very well. So he's a very tough kid, especially like you said, he might not be as big, but I'll go ahead and say he's tougher than him right now, at least from what I've seen. So he's been great to have around. Yeah, exactly. There you go, pound for pound, exactly right.
What does that tell you about Cooper when he loves to play defense as much as he loves to play offense?
I think he just loves to play basketball. I think that's the one thing that you can tell from anything. You know, it's always nice when you're, you know, one of your top picks is the guy at shooting drills who's talking to everybody else and encouraging their baskets, and you know, we're doing scramble drills and he wants to be the first one out there. I think he just loves to play and be in the gym. So it's there's not much to complain about as a coach when the top guy going down is the one who wants to be out there doing most stuff.
Going off that question, what have your initial impressions been of Cooper Flagg, not just the basketball player, but the person?
Like I said, he's just a great kid. He wants to work. He wants to have fun. You know, competition is something that I think he not only enjoys, but he wants to facilitate and wants to make sure that everybody else is getting the competition. So that's something for me when you just see him as a person is he treats everybody amazing. He wants to compete at a high level, and then that translates over to the basketball court.
This may be a simple question, but what type of coach do you want to be in Summer League, and what do you hope to gain from this experience?
In Summer League, I think the biggest thing is just letting these guys, you know, show what they can do. And we want to put them in a position, but we told them, you know, in college it's a lot more run this play, do exactly what I tell you. For us, it's more, let's see what you guys can do, put you in the spots being organized, but then you guys are the talented basketball players, go show what you can do. And I think that's something that these guys have really embraced, and with their IQ down the line is something that's been really, really good for us.
Obviously, to be the first overall draft pick, you're kind of cut from a different cloth. On his work ethic and, just staying in the lab, is there somebody, maybe a current Maverick or Hall of Fame player, that you can kind of compare that work ethic to, and like the outlook on how hard he wants to work?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing with Coop, I think, is just he's his own guy. Like, I don't think he's necessarily, not speaking for him, but he's not trying to be anybody else with his work ethic. That's just what he knows and what he does. So from that standpoint, like, I think the best place to compare it to is just Cooper Flagg, and that's who he wants to be. You're around other guys who do the two-a-days and are in shooting on holidays and on the weekends, everything like that, and he's going to follow all that. But for me, that's just seeing him work and how he works with that stuff is just really impressive from that standpoint as well.
With Cooper and Ryan, y'all have a couple of 7-footers with Musa Cisse and Sharp playing. Do you think that Cooper and Ryan's dynamic with those two bigs is going to help them transition into playing with Gafford and Lively?
Absolutely. I mean, Cooper threw a lob today that almost touched the top of the backboard, and Musa dunked it, and he was like, oh, okay, this is going to be kind of fun. So, gives him a little more room for error on his lobs and things like that. And I think that's something, we try to facilitate is, play to your personnel, play to the people that are on your team, and the more those guys are together, all of a sudden now you can start having fun with what those guys can do, and I think that's something that will obviously translate into the fall.
And then during the pre-draft process, during an interview, one thing that Cooper said that one of his favorite plays to make is throw the lob. Could you, from what you've seen so far in running fives and just in practice, what have you seen out of Cooper as a passer, and like you said, throwing lobs as well?
Oh, no, he's always trying to make the right play. I mean, for him, one of the best things he can do is get in the paint and hope that you will come to help on him, because he'll make the right play every single time. So I think that's for him. He actually said today that his lob throwing was something he had to work on. So if that's his favorite pass, it's good to know that he needs to work on it a little bit more. But honestly, he's been really, really good. And with Sharp, with Musa, and then the guys this fall, he'll have a lot of room to throw those things up there and make the right plays.
This is going to be Melvin's second summer league. What do you want to see from him in terms of his development?
The one thing that was really impressive to see is he came back bigger and stronger. So obviously he's been working. I think he shot it pretty well over in France. So just him finding the right spots. When you come over here, it's a little bit different game. So, you don't really know where those shots are coming from. Last year, I think he forced it a little bit more on I got to get my shots up or when to get them versus just get them in the flow of the offense. He seems a lot more comfortable this year of, I know if I get to the corner, I'm going to get open threes, or if I do a good job running transition, that's going to be my time to attack one-on-one. So that's something for him is just, being used to playing the style of basketball. And I think coming back this year really helps him with that.
With y'all drafting him last year and him playing overseas, was there constant communication between you guys and him as he played overseas, and what y'all were looking for out of him?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, we're always going to let the people that are with him day to day, but I know Matt Riccardi does an incredible job of being in communication with those guys and talking to them, and our front office is great at that stuff, so they kind of handle that more than the coaching staff, but so I'll defer to them. But Matt does a really good job being in communication, and we talked before Summer League about how his year went and everything like that, so they're always on top of that stuff.
Just talk about Miles and what you've seen out of him so far, even though it's just the first day.
He can shoot the rock. I mean, that's, I think, the number one thing for him is, again, he's trying to find out where those shots are all going to come from. I think the one thing he's learning is if he gets in the right spot, playmakers can give him the ball. Last week he played with Brandon Williams a lot in the 5-on-5 stuff, and he was like, man, I don't have to do anything but just stand there and be ready to shoot. Those guys are going to create the problem. So, he can move, he can get off the screens, he can play off the catch, he can do all the different stuff, but just for him, getting to those spots and being ready to shoot, obviously that's something that he does at a high level, and we want to keep seeing that from him.
Even despite his frame, what are some things that may be underrated about him?
His rebounding. He's a great athlete, and we encourage, if you get the rebound, to push that ball and try to get that thing up the floor within those first 3 seconds. And that's something that he's been one of our top guys here in practice in fives last week, of getting the ball and bringing up the floor, which I don't think going into Summer League I would have been like, man, he has a great handle and pick and roll game, and that's something that he's showing that it's been really, really good. So it's good to see him down there with the bigs rebounding and taking those away.
What makes Ryan such a good passer?
I mean, his IQ, obviously, first and foremost. One, he has just such a command of the game and command of the floor that he's always going to have those guys set, where he wants them to be. And then he's already reading that second, that third layer of the defense before he comes off. So I think that's obviously first and foremost. And then again, probably playing with his brother and coming from his family, they, live and eat, breathe basketball. So that's something that obviously is not hard to get to for him.
Has there been anyone else that stood out to you that you haven't mentioned yet?
You know what? Everyone's done a really good job. Max Lewis has done a really good job being here the last 2 weeks, with his energy and his ability to shoot the basketball. So that's someone who we're going to look to probably play a lot. The other E10s and Matthew Cleveland and Musa that have come in, those guys have done a really good job of picking up the offense, picking up the defense. Musa's been kicking Quincy Acey's butt here and all the coaches' stuff. So I think that we're eventually going to see Quincy turn it up a little bit more for him. But that's kind of one of those things where, we'll see if he translates that to Summer League, but he's done a really good job with his activity and his size.
Are you allowed to mention the Mavericks that were playing in fives last week?
Am I allowed to mention the Mavericks that were playing in fives last week?
Won't pass from that.
He will. We already mentioned him, so I might let that out of the bag. But no, we've had a lot of guys in, and honestly, we've done a really good job of having those guys in the summer and practicing, and they're all ready to go. So it's been great.
Sure, guys.
Tell us what were those backyard one-on-one games with your brother like when you were coming up?
They were good. They were fun. Super competitive. Just enjoyed playing hoops. Enjoyed being competitive as kids. So learned a lot and had a lot of fun.
What are some of the things that you learned from him that you can improve?
Yeah, I just think learning the NBA game, being a sponge, and learning from the older guys, as well as just finding your niche in the league and understand what you got to do to get on the floor and make an impact on winning. So I think that's the biggest thing I've learned from him.
Coach Josh mentioned toughness runs in the family.
Yeah.
Is that something that showed up on those pickup games between y'all?
For sure. It's been in us since we were kids, and I think our parents instilled that in us, and we've always had that in us, and I think it's going to be great for me going forward.
And do you think everybody's talked about your facilitating, being able to do that? Is your scoring a little bit overlooked sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I definitely have the ability to score, and sometimes at the college level you're trying to get wins and you're going to do whatever you can to win the game, but I think definitely I have the ability to put the ball in the rim and create my own shot when it's needed. So I think that's something that I'll be able to build upon in these next few weeks.
How much were you able to speak with the Mavericks during the pre-draft process, and what was it like when you found out you were going to be signing to them?
Yeah, I spoke with them a little. My agent kind of handled most of that stuff, and but I came here, I worked out for them, and really liked them, and I feel like they had a good interest in me. So I'm super excited to be a Mav. I think I wouldn't want to be no other place but here. So I'm super happy I'm in this position.
So with this first Summer League practice, you're fresh off of signing a two-way deal. What are kind of your initial thoughts on being a Dallas Maverick, and what did your first Summer League practice look like?
Yeah, I think I'm just excited for the opportunity, excited to be around a bunch of guys that want to get better and want to win, and just excited for the opportunity, like I said. And the practice was great, high energy, coaches were great, players were great, so I'm just excited for it.
What was your impression of seeing Cooper Flagg?
Good, man. He's a good dude, super athletic. Seems like he understands the game, high energy. I think it'll be super fun to play with him, fellow Montverde guy, so I'm excited for that connection there a little bit.
And with y'all both being known for kind of y'all's passing and being high IQ guys, how do you see your on-court fit looking like with you and Cooper sharing the floor, not only at Summer League, but potentially next year with Dallas as well?
Yeah, I think it'll be great. Guys with high IQ and good feel for the game, figure out how to play with each other pretty quickly. So I think that'll be pretty seamless, smooth transition there. He's super smart, and it'll be fun to play out there with him and get the ball rolling.
What was it like that your height gets brought up all the time, and sure in the pre-draft process, and you were talking and all that, and a couple of inches of height could have been the difference between getting drafted and not getting drafted potentially. What's that like to respond to that?
I don't know, man. I've been kind of dealing with it my whole life, so at the end of the day, I am who I am. It is what it is. I'm not going to grow much more. I'm probably done in that sense. So I'm just looking to build on this opportunity that I'm getting, and I feel like at a certain point, the height won't be talked about anymore. I think we all just got to roll the ball out and play hoops at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Your toughness was mentioned when we kind of talked to Josh about that. What kind of mentality do you go into when you're playing?
Yeah, I'm just trying to be a hard-nosed guy that figures out how to win and how to impact winning for the team. So I'm gonna do whatever it takes for the team. Whether that's got to pick up full court, get under guys, make it tough on bigger guys, and yeah, just doing whatever it takes to get wins and help our team progress and do big things.
Is there anything that you're looking to grow in confidence during the Summer League?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty confident, but I think I'm just excited to keep understanding the NBA game and keep learning the game. And I think as I learn and figure out new things that are at this level, I'm only going to get better and only can have a better feel for the game at this level. So.
You know, a lot of people talk about your playmaking. How easy or what's the adjustment when you're playing with a group of guys you've never played with before trying to get the ball?
Yeah, I think that's just a feeling out process. You know, I think that's what these few days are for. Kind of feel it out with these guys, get to know where guys want the ball, how guys like it, pass to them, and what situations you can give guys the ball. So that's what this process is for. It's obviously a quick turnaround with these games coming up, but it's a learning process, and we're all gonna get better as we go.
One thing that Josh briefly talked about is he said you ran some fives with some vets last week and that you were making all the right reads. So far here in Dallas, have there been any veteran players that have reached out to you to try to make your transition to the NBA as smooth as possible?
Yeah, I think all the guys that were here last week were pretty cool. They all seem like great dudes, and they're all very welcoming. Obviously, I know Dwight a little bit, just the Canadian thing, but yeah, Jay Hardy was here, PJ was here, Najee, all those guys were super cool and welcoming. So. It was fun to get on the court.
So with Dwight Powell being the longest tenured Maverick, he's been here for 10, 11 years, and you said you played with him on Canada. How would you describe Dwight Powell and what y'all's relationship?
I mean, I haven't played with him on Canada, but I just know him from the Canada thing. Don't have a relationship with him yet, but obviously he seems like a great dude. Obviously he's been here for a long time, so the organization probably values him. So just excited to get to know all these guys and build relationships, and as you build relationships, on-court things always get better. So I'm looking forward to it.
What players did you try to model your game after growing up?
Yeah, I think I look at some guys like Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry, Chris Paul, just guys that understand the game at a high level, have great feel for it, and understand how to impact winning and play with others. And also lately, I feel like I've been looking at guys like Jose Alvarado just defensively, learn how to get under guys and make it tough and be a pest on that end. So a lot of guys I've taken stuff from, and a lot of guys I think I will learn more from.
You should dig up
yeah, obviously my brother too.
Dig up some JJ.
For real. I will, for sure.
You mentioned learning the NBA game is an obvious focus, but just what are some of the things from a skill development standpoint that you're focused on when you're putting in reps?
Yeah, I think I want to continue to work on my shooting ability, continue to get better catch and shoot, off the dribble shooting, as well as just being crafty in the lane, mid-range game, floater game, finishing around the bigs, especially in this league with so many big guys. So just all-around game. Yeah.
So with your three-point shooting numbers going up so much from your third season compared to your fourth, what do you think led to that, and how do you plan to continue that rolling as you get into the NBA?
Yeah, I think some mechanical changes. I tweaked some things in my mechanics, as well as just taking the right ones, taking better ones, and not being forced into ones that I don't want to take. So, yeah, just my feel for the game, my understanding of the game at the college level grew so much at that level, and I think it's going to continue to progress as I get more reps.
With what the Mavs have built, over the last year or so, 3 future Hall of Famers, big free agent signing in the offseason, what's the excitement and buzz like for you guys, at the possibility of this roster?
Yeah, I mean, super excited, especially for, those guys have been here and they've been through seasons and stuff. I'm just excited to be on the court, excited for the opportunity to hopefully get on team and impact winning and be able to get on the court. So I'm sure once those guys are all around, the excitement will be super high, and I'm sure the city's super excited for it. So hopefully it's a very great year for us.
B. Will was just in your position last year as a two-way. He was able to get a standard contract. Has he been able to give you any advice about what this process is going to be like?
Not yet. It's been early. We haven't really done too much, but I'm sure as the year goes on, I'll pick his brain a lot and see how he was able to get that and learn from him and all the other guys on the squad.
What did you learn from watching your brother on the game's highest stage?
Yeah, I think I just learned a lot just watching, just how to impact winning. There's a lot of things he did to help the team win, and whether that's guard and whether that's make big shots at times. So just a lot, I've learned a lot from him my whole life, and it's great to have someone like that you could look up to and get some tidbits from, for sure.
And then as a point guard, how do you balance between being too passive and being too aggressive at times?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I think first you got to always look to score. That's the main thing. And then once they take away the scoring, you could have those options to pass and get guys good looks. But I think you got to come into games not predetermining what you're going to do and have an open mind and figure it out on the fly as you go.
All right, bro.
Thank you.